It's Tuesday, July 10th, 2012. I'm Alex Jones. Get ready for another original edition of INFOWARS Nightly News.
Tonight, TSA agents in Louisville, Kentucky laughed at a deaf man. They called him an effing deafy and stole his candy. The man's story is now going viral as part of a nationwide backlash against the TSA. Then, the UN sterilization campaigns in developing countries are accelerating as the globalists step up their efforts to depopulate the third world. Plus, genetically engineered mosquitoes are on the loose. That's coming up next on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
First off tonight, we see a similar case of disappearing funds to what we saw now 8-9 months ago with MF Global. And Mr. Corzine, who advises the White House, being caught lying to Congress. That money, we learned, billions of it, ended up going to JP Morgan. That's now been confirmed. Well, Zero Hedge is reporting PFG is now MF Global Part 2 as $220 million in segregated client money has just vaporized. But don't worry, JP Morgan has their regulators everywhere. And guess who the custodian of the PFG Best FX accounts was? None other than everyone's favorite JP Morgan. And who loves you and who do you love? Folks that make Bernie Madoff look like a guy you can trust. I'll give my money to Bernie Madoff, but not JP Morgan, no. And continuing here, it says, translation, another $220 million segregated account pillage has just taken place in the vein of none other than John Corzine and MF Global. The money has now officially vaporized, but don't worry, the federal regulators are in the article saying no problem, this is A-okay, because they are revolving door employees of JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, and they're making money, so why not? Hey, ship some hand grenades to Mexico while you're at it and some guns. Blame the Second Amendment. Say the UN runs our military. Got news coming up with Big Pharma just knowingly killing people. Oh, this shot will give them measles. Give it to them. Oh, this drug for kids with asthma kills them. Kill them. It's just like, I'm sorry, it's teleprompter-free news. I should just not get upset about that and just talk about how they paid a small fine. Very small part of the overall money they made. But hey, that's why they're big globalists and exempt. That's why you are a slave scum. And I'm an extremist for not liking it, and so are you. Well, that's one article out of the way. Let's move on to TSA agents. Laugh at deaf man, call him effing deafy, steals his candy. And this happened to a group of his other friends. They were in Louisville, Kentucky, there so they could go to a conference for the hearing impaired. And they were all wearing shirts from the conference saying nothing about us without us. And, well, they didn't like the solidarity, so they said, this candy may be evil. Why don't you give it to the troops as a joke, and then ate it in front of them, and then said, listen, deafy, there's nothing you're going to do, scum. No one will believe you. And that is awesome power, which is even more awesomer. In fact, as we go to break tonight, can we play Mike Adams' masterpiece that's censored off of YouTube and everywhere else? Yep, we're going to play even more awesomer for you tonight. And we sit here and we laugh about this, but it's more like tears. You've got to go read the full article to believe it at INFOWARS.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Now, moving right along from the awesomer power that we're dealing with, there you go. Nothing like your taxpayer money at work. And they've had drones for a long time. But now the components have gotten so inexpensive relatively. Instead of a smaller drone being $50,000, it's $5,000, like that little police copter right there, unlike a $1 million Predator over there. They now are just launching these, and they say it's about you knowing you're being watched. That's why the cops were saying in one piece out of Miami, the noisier the better. They want to be, Oh, it's a nice day at the park. Let's cook some hot dogs. It's just all about government saying, we're watching you, slave. And don't try to have a garden in your backyard like the woman in Tulsa. We're going to cut it down and charge you because you're not allowed to grow a garden in a giant prison. Shut up and let us grope your wife and children immediately at the TSA. So Pentagon test drone at civilian air park in Ohio. And they went on to say, oh, we're just training the police.
That's unmanned aerial vehicle at the Wilmington Air Park. Take a look. The Air Force put the drone in the air as part of its ongoing efforts to find more military and or commercial uses for it. This is a small radio control class aircraft. Handlers are testing autopilot, communications, and sensing technologies used in unmanned.
Sensing technologies. Is that a genetically modified mosquito to give me a forced vaccine, or is that another drone? And they go on to say, well, it's research and observation, not spying. And they're training them on the smaller, less expensive platforms before they give them the more expensive ones they go on to report. So, land of the free, home of the brave. Not for long if we don't turn things around, because there's an arms race as the system, the criminals that hijack the country, build up all of this bureaucracy against us, festooning themselves with more high-tech gadgetry and their pursuit of awesomer power, even more awesomer. You'll know what I'm talking about when we play the video coming up. Continuing, surveillance drone industry prepares propaganda blitz. PR campaign will bombard Americans with positive messages about technology. Yeah, I saw them announcing this a few weeks ago, all the billions they're going to make and the rest of it. The president of the Association of Unmanned Vehicle Systems International is eager to keep PR nice and simple. You have to keep repeating the good words, he said, in a Mr. Rogers voice, adding that word drones should also be dispensed with because of its negative connotations and be replaced with the term remotely piloted vehicles. No, drones is the right word because it's about replacing humans. And it's not that drones or robots even do better jobs. It's about they follow orders. And so we're allowing the technocrats to consolidate the economy under their control and shut us out of the process. But you're not going to hear the globalist bought and paid for unions ever speaking badly of the robot armies the Trade Federation are building against us. And that's basically what the New World Order is. My God, Star Wars strikes again. Let's continue here. Bye-bye, Syria. Hello, Al-Qaeda-stan, the globalist destruction of a nation state. And I even saw in the London Telegraph today that, yes, Al-Qaeda is being given Libya and Syria, and that the West is now gauging, is this going well? It's going very well. They've always worked for them. So now they've already done what we predicted. Oh, when Al-Qaeda took Libya, and they'll take Syria soon. We'll have to just militarily. So that's even better. You overthrow a country, drop bombs on it, whatever, and then a couple years later have to go invade it again because you put Al-Qaeda in, and then you put another Al-Qaeda in, and then you got to give up all your rights, though, in America and Europe because Al-Qaeda. And then you take out Al-Qaeda and put Al-Qaeda in. And then you take out Al-Qaeda and put Al-Qaeda in. It's like these little simulation countries. And really it's just an excuse to go murder the people there and roll in UN troops behind them for the... well, you know what the UN does, unspeakable things. But again, I'm an extremist. I'm a bad man. I mean, after all, if you're a patriotic American, you salute Al-Qaeda. All right, continuing. Depopulating, part of what they were doing there, the third world UN sterilization camps in developing countries accelerate. And UNFPA and all of them, we got a link to an MIT lecture on this, just admit, they're like, oh yeah, you want food, we're going to sterilize you. And then yuppies go, well, there are too many people. I think you should be for government-run health care because it's racist if you're not, but let's kill the black people. And you're like, but health care is not about black people, it's about government takeover and the insurance companies. I'm not a racist. Yes, you are. Now let's sterilize black people. And I'm like, but you just said you want to sterilize them. Well, that's loving. But yeah, but you're also giving them GMO, killing them. That's even more loving. Again, this is all just their psychological warfare propaganda against us. They're organized, we're not. And it just goes through the different lectures, how they've got the sterilizations, how they forcibly pick the people up. They give them shots that then make them have miscarriages. So eat your GMO, folks. That's what's happening here. Also, another article breaking down water securitization, Agenda 21 on the right of life, the right to life. All over the world, they're taking over water supplies via governments loaning them money and then saying that people aren't even allowed to collect their own rainwater to then securitize it, put it into derivatives, and then bankrupt it. So it's a total plan to take over the water supply of the planet to control life on this globe, all part of the eugenics Agenda 21. Now, let me get to a piece of news that we covered last Friday and we covered yesterday when Aaron Dykes and Mike Adams did INFOWARS Nightly News and did a fabulous job, by the way. This is out of naturalnews.com, but they have links to courthousenews.com, and we have a copy of the actual lawsuit here where whistleblowers, Joel Wolkowski and Stephen Crawling, blew the whistle and helped get the info out to those that sued. I mean, you talk about risking their lives. That Merck, the same folks that gave you the Gardasil vaccine that doesn't protect you from the papillomavirus and kills a lot of people and causes autoimmune disorders, narcolepsy, you name it. It's been confirmed. Look it up for yourself. They have released the documents that they knew that their mumps, measles vaccine was actually giving people the measles, mumps, and rubella. So it's a measles, mumps, and rubella. We're going to play a clip from Mike Adams last night on that. And they lied and said it had 95% efficacy, that it was working, and spiked the blood test with animal antibodies. The truth was their own documents that have been filed in U.S. court, and we'll show you a shot of that in a moment, their own documents clearly state that it was giving people measles, mumps, and rubella. And I'll show people a document cam shot of that right here. You can go through and read it and read about all of the exhibits and what the whistleblowers are saying there in the lawsuit. So that's the type of stuff that is going on in this country and worldwide. Merck vaccine fraud exposed by two Merck virologists. Company faked measles, mumps vaccine efficiency results for over a decade, says lawsuit. So there you go. Now let's continue here with the news. Here is the Courthouse News Service report on all that. Merck has known for a decade that its mumps vaccine is far less effective than it tells the government, and it falsified test results and sold millions of dosages of questionable efficacy, flooded and monopolized the market, a primary caregiver claims in a federal antitrust lawsuit. Claims? These are people that knew their Gardasil shot was killing people in 2 years of trials, so they went to the biggest whore in America, Mr. Pillow Biter Rick Perry, may he burn in hell forever for what he did, and said, you recommend it, put it on the list of health department recommended, then say it's the law, commit that fraud, and order people to take it. So everybody lined up and said, the governor said it's the law, I'll be arrested. And it caused seizures, deaths, you name it. And now that destroyed his political career, but whatever. Selling your soul, I guess, has become an art form. Now, let's shift gears here to another report. Drug company GlaxoSmithKline puts America values to shame. That's the Huffington Post. And they go over all the different things they've done with different psychotropic drugs, Paxil, Wellbutrin, and Advair. It gets into the fact that they knew 2 years ago that their asthma drug, with sales of $7.8 billion in 2010 alone, that they flooded the market,